Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we're going to be looking at a unique dimensional blade known as Ginther's Rift. Ginther's Rift has a very interesting mechanic that we're going to explore. So if you are unaware, the phase blade does not have any durability, and it is technically indestructible. Ginther's Rift, however, is not a phase blade. It is a dimensional blade. Phase blades cannot spawn ethereal because they are, of course, indestructible. Any item that is indestructible is not supposed to spawn ethereal. However, Ginther's Rift can spawn ethereal because it is a dimensional blade, and if you upgrade dimensional blades into their next form, you will get a phase blade. So that's one thing that we're going to play around with. Now, Ginther's Rift also comes with a special mechanic of repairs durability 1 in 5 seconds, which does also make it a very interesting choice for an ethereal item. We're going to go over this item together. We're going to talk about what it could potentially be good for, who can potentially use it, and why. So right off the bat, you'll see that it is 32 to 87 damage. The ethereal version is 47 to 130 damage. So definitely a nice boon in damage there for being the ethereal version. We have 60 dexterity on the regular version and 85 strength with a level requirement of level 37. The ethereal version has 10 less on the requirements of 50 and 75 strength. So not bad there. For level 37, 75 strength and 50 dex is actually not bad, and most characters should be able to do that with pretty much no issue. We also have a 30% increased attack speed on this, which does make it extremely fast, especially considering the dimensional blades and phase blades are already among the fastest weapons in the game. We have 150% enhanced damage on this, which does vary by 50%, so it goes as low as 100 and as high as 150. We have 50 to 120 magic damage, which at level 37 is actually a lot of damage. But when you upgrade this to the phase blade, it's not going to be as much. But when you're attacking monsters at level 37 with this blade, it's massive amounts of damage. Magic damage is relatively unresisted, and the amount of damage that it adds to your attack is absolutely great. When you have elemental damage, you generally have to subtract the elemental damage, like the resistances and stuff from it. But most monsters don't actually have resistances to magic damage, and so they take the full brunt of whatever it says, which is pretty darn cool. Ginther's Rift also has a very interesting graphic too. It just really does. I'll show you the graphic real quick. I'm such a nerd. Look at the beautiful graphic on Ginther's Rift. Very, very awesome looking graphic. Just kind of like a golden skull Cthulhu looking thing down there with like tentacles and jank, and of course it's a pretty awesome looking sword, right? It also has some other effects on it. Was I get sidetracked by the prettiness of the blade? It also has a magic damage reduced by 12, which does vary from 7 to 12, and that's a pretty awesome effect because what it does is it just simply reduces any magic damage that comes in of any form by 12 damage. So if you take 100 magic damage, it's going to reduce it by 12, and you're only going to take 88. Which is not bad. If you take 12 magic damage, it's going to reduce it by 12, and you're going to take 0. So very, very awesome. And this is going to work in tandem with your resistances, by the way. We also have repairs durability 1 in 5 seconds, which is the reason why this can be an ethereal item, because no matter whether it's ethereal or not, it will slowly repair itself over time. Now, you can, of course, find this in both the ethereal and the non-ethereal versions, but the ethereal version is obviously the more impressive one here. And this can obviously be upgraded to the higher tier. Now, because this is a exceptional level item, it does require some relatively high level runes. You're going to need a Pul rune, you're going to need a Lum rune, and you're going to need a Perfect Emerald. And do I not have a second Lum rune? There we go. And you're going to need a Perfect Emerald for each one. Bink, bink. So let's upgrade the non-ethereal version first. And we have 32 to 87 damage. Of course, it has 60 to 60 durability, 60 dexterity, 85 strength, and level 37. And of course, it goes to 77 to 87 damage. It goes to 136 dex requirement, so a pretty high dexterity requirement upgrade. The strength requirement actually goes down to 25 from 75, and the level requirement goes up to level 61. So a very interesting thing there. And as you can see, I can no longer use the item because the dexterity requirement has gone up such a high amount. And let me go ahead and respec here real quick. If you're interested how I can respec like this, the answer is it's in a actual command, which I'm capable of using. I actually have a video up. It's a video called 7 Commands You Should Know. So if you search for 7 Commands GGM or 7 Commands Ginger Gaming Mentor or something like that, it'll pop up. So very interesting that the damage on it didn't really go sky high. But of course this is the non-ethereal version. Now the one that I'm interested in is the Ginther's Rift ethereal version. Let's take a look and see how this one increases. I'm interested whether the ethereal status, of course, stays. I'm also interested whether the how much the damage goes up by. This should be quite interesting. So Pull, Lum, and a Perfect Emeralds, and we have 47 to 130 damage. 60 to 60 durability, 50 dexterity, 75 strength, and level 37. And of course, if you notice, the durability disappeared off of the faceblade because faceblades do not have durability. And this one transmuted into a Ginther's Rift faceblade with 115 to 130 damage, 126 dexterity requirement, 15 strength, level 61. So not bad. Now we have an ethereal Ginther's Rift faceblade. So, unfortunately, the repair's durability mechanic no longer works because the faceblade does not actually have durability. So it doesn't matter if you go out into the Bloodmoor or wherever or Stony Field and you start wheeling on things. You're not going to lose any durability with this particular weapon, just simply because it has none. It's kind of an oddity in the realm of Diablo because faceblades don't actually, they're not actually indestructible. So, you know, there are items in the game, of course, that are indestructible. You know, like, for instance, you can Zod an item, like I have a Zodded the Ward Gothic shield right here. The Ward shield. If you watched my last video, that was pretty funny. And it actually is indestructible. But phase blades are not indestructible. They're just phase blades. And they have no durability whatsoever. So the repair's durability modifier on this doesn't actually work very well. Who could potentially use a Ginther's Phase Blade? The answer to that question is the Ginther's Rift Dimensional Blade and the Ginther's Rift Phase Blade are both relatively nice weapons. I wouldn't necessarily recommend upgrading it to the Phase Blade version because I don't really feel like it's high enough damage to compete with some of the better choices. Although it is a very fast weapon and it doesn't have any durability, and it could potentially be useful at level 61. It's definitely going to be very useful for a Frenzy Barbarian, a Zeal Paladin. You could probably even use this on a Shape-Shifting Druid for a little while. It does do a pretty nice amount of magic damage. It could be very useful on a swap just to take care of some monsters who are Stone Skin. They may have you may have a little bit of trouble with physical damage on. The relatively fast speed of this could make it very useful for something like a Fireclaw Druid early on. If you happen to be building a Fireclaw Druid, you happen to find a Ginther's Rift. I mean, it is a relatively fast weapon with the high speed of the Dimensional Blade already, combined with the Repair's Durability modifier and the increased durability, or sorry, the increased attack speed on this as well. It's going to hit really, really fast, and it's going to work very well for elemental damage builds. I would probably recommend using this on something like a Holy Freeze Paladin, a Holy Fire Paladin, a Holy Shock Paladin, a Fireclaw Druid. Any character that's going to get a relatively good amount of damage from elemental attacks, maybe even a enchant sorceress if that's your goal. It could be useful in that particular regard. And of course the magic damage is going to help you kill monsters that are immune to your particular element. And it does have a decent amount of physical damage to go along with it, which isn't terrible. And it just looks sweet. It looks pretty cool. It's got a special graphic that I don't know what that skull is on the thing, but it's a pretty cool looking golden skull with red eyes. Let's take a look and see where we could potentially find this item. I feel like that's a good idea. So especially if you were trying to get your hands on this, maybe early ladder or something like that, for your character, that could be a good idea. So let's go over to Silo's Pen and we'll take a look and we'll see where potentially you could get this item to drop. Alright, so here we are over on Silo's Pen, and let me move myself out of the way. So we're going to look, let's say about 75% magic find, because as a level 30 some odd character, you're not going to be running a huge amount of magic find yet unless you're specifically building it. And then of course we want to choose the unique items here, and then we're going to go to Ginther's Rift. Bink. Alright, and we're also going to look at bosses first. I think that's a good one to look at. And according to this, our best probability looks like Andariel in Nightmare difficulty with a 1 in 833 chance. Mephisto in Nightmare difficulty with a 1 in 874 chance. Diablo and Bale also in Nightmare difficulty. It does look like Bale has a pretty good chance on a quest drop of 1 in 971 and in normal, and 1 in 1,467 in normal on a non-quest drop for Bale in normal. Interesting. Let's take a look at super uniques real quick, and let's see if there's a good chance from any of the super uniques. So we got the Cow King in Nightmare, not really a good choice for farming a low-level sword. Radamant in Nightmare, maybe. 1 in 7,300. Countess in Hell, no. Bone Ash in Nightmare. That is actually a really easy monster to farm. 1 in 9,473. Not exactly the greatest chance in the world, but he's definitely easy to get to in Nightmare difficulty. You can take the waypoint of Inner Cloister, and he's right inside the cathedral, always next to the altar. Very, very easy to farm over and over again. Not really seeing a lot of monsters in normal difficulty, which is really where you would want to find this item. It doesn't look like there are. Neelathak in normal has a really terrible chance. Lister the Tormentor in normal has a really terrible chance. A lot of these monsters in normal just have really terrible chances. So it looks like you're not going to be able to find this for the most part unless you get to Nightmare difficulty. That's where it kind of opens up into some higher monsters. Not really quite sure why it has such a kind of a difficult drop zones. I mean, a lot of the drop zones in here are toward the end of Nightmare, and toward the end of Nightmare, you're closing in on level 50, 60, which is kind of out of the range of this particular item, especially if you're planning to use it on a lower level character, which you probably should, because Ginther's Rift is an absolutely great item for a lower level character. So it looks like to me, honestly, Bone Ash in Nightmare difficulty in the Cathedral is probably the best chance to farm this item early on, just simply because there's not a lot of monsters on here that are in lower level zones. Most of these monsters are much higher level zones that are going to be a little bit harder to get to, and by the time you get to these, you're probably going to have a better weapon. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when there's a rift in them. And as always, keep watching.